Welcome to the Hot Podcast. We have with us today Elder Dan Moody, and we're so happy to have him here. Listen, if you would you do me a favor right now? Would you get on your phones and share this or tag someone so they can be watching as well? All you got to do is go on the Faith Church page, Facebook page, and share it to your page. If you can do that right now for me, that will really bless me and help me out on today. Thank you for joining us on today. I really hope you have been blessed on the past 2 weeks. We started this podcast with a transition teaching, and what we wanted to do was make sure that we wasn't blasphemous in this podcast, so you can't ever say we didn't have no teaching, no theological teaching when it came to this podcast. So but from now on, we're going to be hitting some hot topics, and we're going to be making sure that we're doing what it takes to inform you and getting the word out on things that's going on in the world. And so make sure that you know and make sure you support this by giving $2 Faith Pastor. Just put in the note Hot Podcast. Anything you can give on Faith Church 2006 at Gmail. You can give on Faith Church Lancaster. You can give at Faith Pastor. Both of those cash apps and Zelle, that would really bless us. Don't forget this Saturday at 11 a.m. at our church, kids 10 and under will get free coats. We have free coats for kids, 305 East 3rd Street there in Lancaster, Texas, 75146 at the Faith Church. Want you to come out from 11 to 1 p.m. Free workout, door prizes, live DJ, and we will have free coats for all kids 10 and under. So that way, for the snowstorm that passed, you want to make sure that when this storm comes again, that your kid has a coat to go to school. And again, they are brand new coats, not gently used, not lightly used, but brand new coats. And we also have some T-shirts with the Hot Podcast logo coming, and so we'll be giving away that as well. Also, this Sunday is our last sermon in our sermon series, Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. And so we will be preaching Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. I hope this sermon series has been blessing you on this particular Sunday. We make sure we'll do that. That's at 11 a.m. Join us in person or virtual. And then the following Sunday, we have our Women of Faith. My boss is coming. The city manager of Lancaster will be there to pour into us, Opal Malden Jones. That's on the 5th Sunday, so make sure that you all are there. Well, listen, I want to get into it with Elder Dan Moody. Thank you for coming, sir. I am so happy that you was able to make it and that you're here. I'm so glad you was able to be here on tonight. I just want to start off with a few questions about you and your life. Just tell us where you're from, your name, how you grew up, childhood nickname, anything that will help us out to learn who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I've watched you grow in ministry.
Bless you.
I've watched you as you started out in ministry and now pastoring,
Yes.
and I've been blessed by your ministry. So it is definitely an honor to be here on your show and to share the stage with you, because I do look up to a lot of the things that you're doing.
Appreciate it.
I'm actually a transplant here from Memphis, Tennessee. I moved here in 2008.
Wow.
Grew up in Memphis. Then my grandmother passed. My mom moved back to her hometown, West Memphis, Arkansas. So
Okay.
we're kind of like Texas and Louisiana, or Texas and Arkansas. It's right
Okay.
next to each other. And my nickname was Dan. My real name is Daniel. The reason I changed it to Dan on Facebook is because my son is Daniel LaFord. So I had a lot of teenagers sending me friend requests. And I'm like, why is these children trying to follow me, you know? So I changed it to that. So for the most part, when I hear people say Dan, which is why I'm thinking about changing it back, because when I hear people say Dan, I know it's a relative or a close friend.
Right.
So now everybody in Dallas is saying Dan. I'm like,
Yeah, you're not
cool.
used to that.
Yeah, I'm like, we're not cool like that.
Right.
So I grew up like that. My father died when we were young. My mother raised us. It was 6 children. And I was telling somebody about this the other day, Alton, is that in the church, we have to be careful sometimes when people are grieving and we're trying to say stuff to help.
Wow.
Because I still remember I was like 8 or 9 years old when my dad died. My dad's body was sitting in the front of the church. The funeral was over. The funeral directors were getting his body. And one of the ladies in the church walked up to my mom, hugged her, and says, "You're going to have to get married now, because if you don't, those boys are going to jail and your girls are going to get pregnant." My dad's body is still sitting,
Wow,
like right there, like we're here and he's on the other side of this table. And she said that in the sanctuary of the church. And I still, at 53 or be 54 next month, remember that.
wow.
And how that.
And that was a relative.
It wasn't a relative. It was a church member.
Church member.
She was like a mother in the church. And
Wow.
so it caught my mom off guard, but she tried to, play it off. But I was like, wow, I can't, believe it. But my mom did a good job. She was an amazing mother, raised us, never remarried, never brought men in and out of the house.
Wow.
And it was tough, 6 kids, single mom. It was tough, but she instilled a lot in us that I'm thankful for.
So you moved from Memphis to Dallas?
Yes.
And how old were you when you moved in?
I moved here. Oh, I was an adult. I think, 41, 40, somewhere.
Wow. Okay. So for 40 years you were in Memphis.
I was in Memphis.
And how was Memphis? If you had to describe it to our viewers and us.
Memphis was a great city to grow up in. I did do some time in the military, and then when I got out, I went back to Memphis in like 94, 95 and was there until I moved.
Okay.
Memphis is a great city. It's a good city, good people, good church, good word from people. Just like a lot of other urban cities, Memphis is going through its trials and tribulations at this point. So right now, Memphis is facing a lot. You see it a lot in the news and on television. But growing up in Memphis had a lot of heritage. The Lorraine Motel, Beale Street, Bishop Mason, Church God in Christ,
Yeah.
Bishop G. Patterson.
Yeah.
I was his groundskeeper towards the latter part of his life.
Wow.
Took care of some of his properties.
At his house?
At his house.
Wow.
Was able to sit in, in the church with him and just in his office, like we're sitting now. My cousin was the first assistant to him, or his adjutant, so it gave me access to him. An amazing man of God. I'll never forget him. And Church God of Christ, Holy Convocation is what Memphis was known for.
Yeah. And so when you left there and came to Dallas, was it different, a lot different from Memphis? Did you have to make any adjustments? What was that like?
It definitely was because my children, I wanted them. Memphis had gotten to a point where it was really about black and white, basically. And if you knew somebody, you were able. So I had hit the top of where I could go financially, and then looking at where the school systems were trending. Now I lived in a nice neighborhood. I was in the suburbs. So when I moved here, my children were on a roll, but they were failing, and we thought they were just playing, but it was actually the school system in Memphis were behind from the Texas. So moving here, there was an adjustment as it relates to the schools for my children, but we really were really enjoying and satisfied and excited about the change because the job opportunity, the amount of money we were able to make, the diversity for my children, because it was either black or white, but here they were seeing, all sorts of children and families and events to be a part of. And then joining the Potter's House changed the trajectory of my life. I was a part of a great ministry in Memphis. It was a Full Gospel Baptist Church under, Bishop Paul Morton started Full Gospel. So my bishop was, he's a Central Region bishop. Great church, but coming here took it to that next level, man.
Right. What was that pastor name?
Bishop Edward Stevens of Golden Gate Cathedral.
Okay.
In Memphis.
Yeah, because I know about Full Gospel, of course, for being in New Orleans. I was under church at Beacon Light, Bishop Brister.
Bishop Brister, Darrell Brister, that's my dude.
Yeah, so I was there before he got there. I grew up in that church. Then when he came, I stayed a little while, but then I went to Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. Shout out to Franklin Avenue Baptist Church, one of the greatest churches in the city in New Orleans. Also shout out to my boy Moses Garden, Pastor Jamal Weathersby. We got Zoe, and so we have a lot of pastors down there that just doing the doggone thing. And so we're so grateful for New Orleans and the upbringing. So when you came to New Orleans, we came to Dallas, how long did it take you to join the Potter's House? And did you join Potter's House, the mother church, or North?
The mother church. The North church hadn't started at that time.
Okay.
I actually was in Dallas for about a year before joining because I wanted to make sure I was joining where God was planting me, and not just because it was the Potter's house. So
Right.
I visited other churches, but again, my home church was such a strong church. I was used to service starting on time, and
Right.
they're being ordered. And I would go to these churches, and we just sitting waiting for the crowd to get there,
Right.
or And so I was just like, when I would go to Potter's house, that word and that order.
Right.
And so I joined, and my life has never been the same since.
Amen. So when you joined, did you were you already knew that you were called to be a minister? Did you accept it there? How did that come about?
Yes, I was already an ordained minister in Full Gospel at my home church. So I had been, I was a youth pastor prior to coming here, the senior elder there at the church. So yeah, so I knew. So when I joined Potter's house, the strange thing is I didn't let them know that I was an elder or a minister. I didn't want any parts of it. I was burnt out. Wow. And so when I joined the ministry, I said, I'm going to be on new members. And then I said, I ended up on security. I was already doing some security stuff, and I ended up joining the security team. And I still didn't let them know. And I just didn't. I was burnt. I didn't want to do the ministry thing. You know how you go through something. And I just didn't. And it wasn't until years later, I was with the North Church. We were at Woman Thou Loosed in Atlanta. And I was with Pastor Brady, and someone walked up to me in the airport and go, Pastor Moody. And she looked, and other people looked, and we were talking with him, and they go, Pastor. I was like, yeah, and I told them my history. And he was like, why you never said anything? I was like, well, I didn't want to. So that then led me to eventually join FISM and do all of that.
Okay. And now being under Pastor Brady, how is that, some people are against women pastors. How I feel is I am so for that. I think that is so dinosauric, and I really believe that God's hand is on females and males alike. But for had you been under a woman pastor before? How was that? What's your take on that?
I had never been under a woman pastor before. All of my pastors have been male. However, being a part of Full Gospel, they were open to women pastors. So I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't think I'd ever be a part of a church with a woman pastor. The difference in being under Pastor Brady is the balance that Bishop Brady brings to her life, right? So he's very active in the ministry. He's very present in the ministry. And what I saw differently than I saw from other women pastors, she never emasculated the men. I've been under her leadership for 11, 12 years. I've never seen her preach a sermon that emasculated men or made men feel less.
Wow.
She's never tried to do that to our deacons. Our deacons are deacons. They're men. They do what they do.
Right.
Her son-in-laws, her husband, they handle those male roles perfectly, but she balances it. Her message is never pro-women. It's never pro-men. It is for the body. And I think that, too, was what helped me because I was her security, I did travel with her to different conferences she was due. And I was there one time, and a lady asked her, said, how do I draw men to my church? And she began to answer, and then she stopped. She says, Moody's the man. He's a man in the room. Let me have him answer that question. So she allowed me to speak to that woman pastor. And what I told that lady was, if you want to draw men, you got to have things in your church that attract men. Right. You've got to do services that are balanced. It can't be, we're going to be talking about, this Saturday we're having a girl talk. Well, what are the men doing?
Right.
So you got to have things that draw the men. And then even if it's your brother, your cousin, you have to have a man there that is over those men, that can relate to those men, because there's going to be some things as a female pastor, even though you're right, you won't be able to say it to a man and he receive it. Right. You got to have another man that does it, right? Yeah. And then if you want to draw men, you can't have a church full of women, and then you got men just serving under women, and that's all we see is women.
Right. Got to have some at the forefront.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I want to get into what I feel like is one of your callings, this license to carry. And so we know now the times we are living in are such dangerous times. And so last year, I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. Our church actually went through a class. And so it was with I can't even think of the guy's name. And so I think during that time, it was COVID during that time. and he gave us just a great rate to come do it at the church. And I think maybe we had maybe 15, 20 members that went through it. I think on that day we only had maybe 10 or 12, I can't remember, but some of them went through afterwards. And so I have my license to carry, and we have members who have their license to carry. You walk in the Faith Church and you about starting some business. You won't leave the same way you came.
Right.
We mess around and kill you and do your funeral all at the same time. It's a one-stop shop.
I was just about to say that.
So that's how we rolling around there. But I feel like that's a part of your call and who you are. I know that you do security as well. Talk about that for a brief moment, even before we get to that. Do you have a security service? Do you work under someone? How does that work?
My company, Diplomatic Emergency and Safety Services, provides security training for churches. We specialize in security for churches. We also train executive protection officers, or what we refer to as bodyguards, for pastors. And other secular people. We provide security for a lot of your civil rights lawyers you see, a lot of public figures. We're doing that now. And I partner with a network of security companies, as well as a friend of mine. I partner with him in the company on Protection for the Stars, where, again, we provide security for churches and then for athletes, different people like that. Church security is very important. Oftentimes I go to churches, they'll hire me to come in or pay me to come in, and then they're like, well, we don't believe in guns and we don't believe in this. And one of the things I always say is the pastor has a vision. So then he says, we need more ushers. You get ushers. We need more elders and ministers. You do that. We need trustees, deacons. I also believe that your church, there are people in this world which are like myself that have a special gift to protect and serve, that help the man of God. And so in the church, that's what we specialize in. And I just believe that if God gives the man of God that, say, hey, a warning, and he says, we're going to need to get somebody in here, that's what we're for. And the great thing I like about it, I've been around church so much, I know the nuances with churches, and I know what pastors desire and what they need. So I try and tailor my training for their people around the heart of that pastor in that church, so that we're not robotic and not offensive to the members. We just feel right in those gaps and become part of the fabric of that church.
And it's really it's great you brought this up, because I have a question for you that I even would like to know. What's the difference between security and armor bearers?
Well, armor bearers are more so in the Bible. It was different. They were like security, right. But armor bearers are more so in the church. Is going to be the person that's kind of like that personal assistance to the pastor. Make sure his water, his Bible, his clothes, whatever they're doing. That security, because I've played both of those roles as well. Right. For me, as security and being an elder and have been an armor bearer, and sometimes when I move with certain people, I am their armor bearer as well. My job particularly is to protect and serve. So I may grab a book, I may not, because if my hands are full, I can't do what I do. My job is strictly to take care of the business, make sure whoever I'm with or the facility I'm in is safe and in order. That means anything coming externally, anything internally, I'm going to deal with it. And that's why churches have to have it. You have to have somebody that is focused. I train with local police. I train with federal officers. I train every year in Washington, D.C. I've trained with so many people because I want to know the different laws and what the church's rights and my rights are. So if certain threats come in there, I know how to deal with it and be within the law of my rights.
So what is the process if someone wanted to get a license to carry? They don't have a license to carry, don't have anything, don't know anything. Walk them through that process right now today, from day one to getting your license.
Well, what you'd have to do is you can reach out to me. My information should be on the screen, but you can reach out to me at any of the my email, the website, or by calling me, and that's your first step. And say, hey, I'm interested in the class. You do not have to have a firearm. You do not have to have prior military service or anything like that. We get people that do have experience and people that don't. If you want to go through the training, we have firearms for you. We have ammunition. And the class itself, the state of Texas require 4 hours of classroom time. So 4 hours classroom. And then from there, we go on the range, and you have to shoot 50 rounds, 20 from the 5, 20 from the 7, and 10 from the 15. In this class, you're going to learn about concealed and open carry, use of force, deadly force, stand your ground, all of those things that apply to those that are going to be carrying a firearm. So it's about 5 hours, 5, 6 hours, depending on how big the class is. you will get a certificate, not a certificate, but a document from the state saying that you've gone through training. You upload that to the state, pay your money to the state, get your fingerprints, and within 4 to 6 weeks, you should have your license back.
And just to, because one of my goals for this show, the Hot Podcast, is to make sure not only we have people on for information, but I want to make sure I give people flowers while they're here as well. And so I want to really give kudos to you, because I know at least a minimum of maybe 15 to 20 people that I know that have went through your class, and they are so prepared. They loved it. They told other people about it, and they just love the professionalism and the information. I know one person told me, he said he had questions afterwards, and he was able to call you even afterwards to ask you questions about it. You answer the questions and make sure they was good when it comes to even giving training afterwards if they needed training. And so I just want to give kudos to you when it comes to that, because that's huge when you have someone that you can just reach out to even after you go through the class. So definitely want to give kudos to you for that.
I appreciate it. I try and do all I can. When I started doing these classes, like you was talking about COVID and all of that, when initially I was doing these classes probably once a month, and then the protest and the George Floyd event happened, and I was doing them 2, maybe 3 times. When Donald Trump said stand down and stand back, I was doing them 5 days a week. They were selling out every time I do it. I was doing private classes, probably 7 days a week. I was doing something with firearms. And one of the things I wanted was to ensure that people of color were not afraid to have a firearm.
Right.
And then if you had it, you were trained and know how to operate with that firearm, and then what to do if you have a police encounter. Because I think a lot of instructors strictly do this book. If you come to my, as you said, you've talked to some of the people, my class, we're going to have fun. We're going to talk about the law, and then we're going to talk about real things. If you ask me real case scenarios or real situations, I'm going to give you the real based on what this book says you can do. And then we're going to talk about being black.
Right.
Right. Sometimes those things don't work out that way. And so we have to be careful. And so it's also driven me to start another program we're rolling out next month where it talks about police encounters, how to survive a police encounter, what you can be doing and what the police should be doing, so that you're taking notes, so that if they violate your rights, because there are certain things that police officers can and shouldn't be doing. I'm not going to say can't, because they'll do it, and but you should know your rights. And it's something I'm going to post on social media here in the next day or two about my encounter with the police officer and someone, a Karen, that called the police on me, and how I handled it without even having to show my identification. So it's very important, because you may be your own 911.
Right.
We're seeing this now in videos where people are being assaulted, women in parking lots, and people are around and nobody's coming to help.
Right.
People breaking into your home and they don't know how to use a firearm. Well, we go through that in this class, and any other class you want to come to after that is your people have told you. We go on the range and we practice. And I train, all the time for myself so that I can survive a fight.
Good. And so those classes take about how long from day one till you get your license? Is it 2 months, maybe 3 months? I know it depends on fingerprints and all that, but you're on average.
With me, you're done in about 6 hours, depending on how big the class is. If it's a private class, then it's a little bit shorter because it's just you. Mm-hmm. But it's 4 hours classroom where we go through 147 papers. We don't hit all 147. We do focus. And then I did leave out, you have to take a written test. It's pretty easy. If you listen to what we're doing in class, you'll get that. Okay. And then after my class, it's on you. If you go in the next day and pay your money to the state, wait 24 hours and set up your fingerprints. Once you do the fingerprints, it's 4 to 6 weeks and you'll have your license.
Okay, so for those that are scared of shooting or maybe scared of guns, what advice would you give them? Maybe some ladies that say, I'm scared of guns. I want my license, but I'm scared of guns. What advice would you give them?
Well, to the ladies, and again, you can talk to some of the women that have come into my class. I get men and women that come that don't have experience and maybe a little bit afraid. One of the things I do is you will shoot a 22 semi-automatic. It's a very small frame gun. It's a full-size frame, but it's on a small platform. But it gives you the recoil, a little pop and a bang where you can hear it, but it's not much recoil like a 9mm or a 40. And it's to the point that once you shoot about 10 rounds, most women settle in. I'm going to be as close as I am to you, maybe a little bit closer to them. So the gun is not going to do anything to you that you don't want it to do, and I'm going to make sure I'm there to keep you safe. Again, after about 10 to 15 rounds, you settle in. And what I tell women is, don't try and go and buy a gun before this class, because you're going to hear your brother, your cousin, everybody's going to tell you, get a 40, get a 9. Wait, come to this class, get trained, then go back to the range, whether it's with me or someone else, rent a 22, rent a 9, rent a 380, and shoot those and see how that gun handles before you just go and buy one.
And so we have one of our listening members that are watching, Sister Renetta Young, who is one of our seasoned saints, and she said, interesting. And I think this is something that all people should really think about, pray about, to make sure like I said, have my license. I carry my gun everywhere that is legal to carry it. Of course, it's in my house, my car, and of course the places that I'm legally allowed to carry it, I definitely carry it, but I carried it concealed so no one can see. And so I don't want anyone to see, because in the class, what the teacher was saying was, if somebody come in and they want to do something, they're going to shoot the first person that has a gun, right?
Right.
And so, a lot of people, sometimes you see them out, but I never show mine, right? Because it's the element of surprise.
Right, and you're exactly right. For me, and again, with women, I train them how to carry, whether it's going to be on your person or in your purse. There's a particular way you need to have that firearm. And she's right. You do need to pray about that. Pray about, is this what I want to do? However, this is what I tell, because I had a lot of prominent pastors and people in gospel music and all over that came to this class that I've trained in this city, and I'm licensed in Tennessee as well. I train people there that came to me, and they didn't want their face known, or whatever. They didn't want people to know, and a lot of it because they was like, well, I don't want people to judge me because I'm carrying a gun. I'm like, it's not a sin for you to be able to protect yourself,
right?
But I honor that privacy. If you see pictures on my page, people sign waivers and allow me to do that, so I don't just put people picture out there that don't. But even as a believer, if you're in the church and someone comes in that church and starts shooting, and your security is just armed with prayer, and I'm for prayer,
right?
How bad would you feel knowing as a pastor that if my security or myself, if they were armed, they could have took that threat out?
Yeah, and that's my total concern when it comes to members, especially my members, is protection. Mm-hmm. Not only their spiritual growth, but even their protection. I would be distraught if something happened to the members of the Faith Church and I was there. I don't know why people feel that way when it comes to guns, but for me, if your heart is right and your intent is right, I don't see where it's wrong for you to have a gun, right?
Even in your own home.
Even your home.
On your own
you got to
person,
protect your home.
In your vehicle. Like me driving here, I, of course, carry a firearm everywhere I go. But if someone were to break in my car and I got my kids or my grandkids, like I had a situation recently with my grandkids with me. And what if I can't do anything and then I have to watch somebody abuse or kill my grandchildren, and I couldn't do anything to defend myself. Right. So for me, this is what I tell people. If somebody's chosen to break in your home, your vehicle, or assault you or rob you, they've already decided you're an easy target, and they're going to take you out. The only way you're going to survive is to be more dangerous than them. Right. And so I've already made up in my mind I'm going to be more dangerous. Right. So if people don't, I have churches that come in and they go, well, we're not going to do that at this time. Fine with me. I'm just sharing the information. I have people that come to my class go, I don't want to hurt nobody. I'm like, well, what you getting a license for? Right. Well, I don't want, I just want to hurt. If I have to shoot them, it's in the leg. What if that gun jam on your second round, that person's still coming? Right. Then what? Right. Now you've just given yourself up. So if you don't want to hurt nobody, then, get you some bubble gum or something like that. Maybe they'll get distracted with that.
Right. So what's some of the questions you've gotten from people in your classes that maybe were good questions, that could help our listeners or people that's watching, that you've gotten over the years or, over your classes?
Well, one of the questions I get all the time is, if someone's in my home, do I have to wait until I see a weapon before I can shoot them? And the answer is no. If they start kicking on your door in the state of Texas, you can fire from inside your house.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Threat. Yes. Wow. If they're kicking on your door, they are attempting to come in and hurt you or your family, you can fire from within your home. The only thing I tell my students is you're responsible for every round that exits that firearm.
Right.
So if you're shooting through that door, you better know what's on the other side, because if it goes across the street or it hits somebody that's parked in the street, you're responsible for that. You may get cleared for killing whoever was trying to break in your home, but you'll get charged for that, a negligent homicide of that other person, or injury of a third party if that person's sitting in the vehicle.
And this is a great segue. On Facebook, I see some of your posts. Matter of fact, make sure you follow him and friend him on Facebook, Dan, D-A-N, Moody, M-O-O-D-Y, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so make sure you friend him on Facebook. But I saw some of your posts when you're talking about the bill that has passed, that Texas passed. Talk about that bill and how, if you don't have a gun license, how that bill can hurt you.
Okay, I really believe that law was meant to hurt black people and then the underserved, whether it be white, Latino, whomever. And the reason I say that is, if you don't have a license to carry, in the state of Texas in September, you will be able to carry without a license. The caveat, it says you have to be able to pass a background check. Not that you have to take it, but you have to be able. And the reason I say I believe it is a trap is because most states like Tennessee that are doing it, Mississippi and Texas, will lose between $20 and $40 million in revenue. Well, how do they make that up? I believe it's through incarcerations, diversionary programs, probation programs, all of those things that are going to make money, because the dangerous part is if you don't go to the class, then you don't know that if you travel to Oklahoma, you're violating the law because you're carrying a concealed firearm unlicensed in the state of Oklahoma. The bill only covers you in Texas.
Right.
The bill also covers if you go into a particular place where they have a 30.0607 saying you can't conceal or open carry. If you're licensed to carry, you pretty much get that information and you know where you can and can't cover. Mm-hmm. As a licensed to carry holder, if I go into Applebee's and that little sign says the unlicensed possession of a firearm in this building is a violation, I am licensed to carry this, so that doesn't apply to me. A person that is doing the permitless carry, they can go to jail because it says the unlicensed and you're not licensed. And so politicians are not telling people that. Also, if let's say you have a moving violation that you forgot about and there's a bench warrant for failure to appear, well, you technically don't qualify on a background check until you clear that up.
Right.
People don't know that, though. So it's a simple misdemeanor moving violation. So if you get caught with that firearm and they run your license, okay, hold on just a minute. You say, well, I'm permitless carry, and you got that bench warrant out. Now you got the bench warrant to worry about and carrying a firearm because you don't qualify. It's still legal. Wow. There's ways you're supposed to carry, conceal, and open. With permitless carry, you don't know how you're supposed to carry. Like to carry a concealed firearm, it should be in a holster, whether it's open or concealed. Right. I have people that should have been in my class last month that opted out because they're going to do permitless carry, thinking you could do it now. They were somewhere for Memorial Day, had the gun stuffed down in front of their clothes. Police pass by, see it, come over, just ask everybody for ID because we got a noise complaint. Hey, where's your license to carry? I don't have to have one. Nope, yes, you do.
Wow.
So, it's just stuff like that I just believe people of color are going to get caught up in.
And put the information up again, Calvin, so they can see. This is very, very important. I encourage every person watching, listening, whether you are Christian, Buddhist, I don't care what you believe, you need to make sure that you're legal when it comes to carrying, get the correct training. When you're talking about carrying a gun, you may have to use it one day. Therefore, you should know how to use it, be trained on how to use it. This isn't the Wild Wild West, so you want to make sure you do that. So look at that information and make sure that you contact him for a class that's coming up real soon. One of the last things I have, we have here, Calvin, hit him with the hot bomb. Boom. I love the hot bomb. I call it the hot bomb because this is where we have what we call the hot hitters. Okay, the hot hitters are questions I just ask you, random questions I have, and I just want you to ask. Always going to do this at the end. And so hit the hot bomb again, Calvin. Hit the hot bomb again. Hot bomb. I love the hot bomb. So we're going to ask these questions, and we want you to ask. So the first question is, what would this you tell your younger you?
Procrastination is your biggest giant.
That's good.
Yeah, procrastination, man. If you, as a young person, there's so much you could do right now that you don't have to wait until you're 40 or 50. to do
Amen.
it.
Raven Dixon, my daughter, are you watching right now? Did you hear that? Procrastination is your biggest giant. I don't know. The Lord just led me to tell you that. Thank you so much. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, that you would love to have dinner with. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive.
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, that's 2.
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
And Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac. That's a good 5. That's a good 5. I like that 5. 3 people you would take with you to a battle.
Oh, man. Wow. Sean Smith, good friend of mine. My brother Thomas. And, I want to, man. Curtis Harrison.
Curtis Harrison. So those 3 you take with them to a battle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Your top 5 preachers.
Of course, Bishop Jakes, Pastor Brady.
Good.
E. Dewey Smith.
3. That's good.
What is his name? Mike Todd.
Mike Todd's great. Oklahoma.
Yes. And Winston, Bill Winston.
Bill Winston. Great. Awesome. Top 5 rappers.
Let me see. Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
Of course, you got to put Tupac in there. Tupac, Biggie, Rakim.
Rakim, that's, yeah.
Let's see. I would do, man, it's hard. Kanye. And then my 5th would be MC Lyte.
MC Lyte. This the last one. Top 5 athletes. So you could go across the board in baseball, basketball, football, track, whatever. Top 5 athletes.
Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Emmitt Smith, Reggie Jackson, baseball.
Baseball, okay.
Yeah,
Not football.
Not football,
Yeah.
baseball. And I would have to throw Steph Curry in there.
Steph Curry, good. That's
Curry,
good. Hit
Steph
the
Curry.
hot bombs, Calvin, one more time. That's great. Thank you again. Do you have a class that's coming up?
I do. I have a class coming up on 9/11. That's a Saturday in Dallas at the Lake Highlands Shooting Center. It's
Okay.
going to be there.
And they can sign up now for that class.
I'm going to put it on my site today, so you
Okay.
can go to my website, or you can just email me or call me, and then I'll put you on the roster once you pay. Your seat is not secure until you pay, because I get
Till you
people
pay.
say they're coming, and then they back out, and then I've lost that seat where I could have sold to somebody else. These seats do sell out fast. If you're concerned about COVID, we do social distance in the class. I cut the numbers back. I have an air filtration system in there. We do sanitizer, mask, all the good things like that. And we wipe the books down, anything that you're going to get. And if you just want private classes at your home, we'll do that. There's an additional price because I'm driving to your home and it's just you. And so, yeah, we can come to the house. So if you don't want to do September the 11th, just let me know, and then we can set up somewhere I can come to your house so you can do the following class.
So make sure you share this. Make sure that you get this word out. Please follow Elder Dan Moody on Facebook, Dan Moody. Make sure you follow, email him, see his website information. Make sure you do that. I'm telling you, this is something that will be coming up. When I go to these gun shows, just for, information, I don't see hardly any of us. It's all other races. And so, the truth is other races have been on weapons and guns, and so we need to protect ourselves, and that's what it's about, just making sure we protect ourselves, especially in this day and time with all this road rage and things, people walking in Walmart and schools and movie theaters, shooting up places. You don't want to be somewhere and not able to protect yourself, or like Elder Dan Moody said, your family members that may be with you. So make sure you do that. I wanted to make sure I bring him on. He's actually our first guest on the Hot Podcast, so we're thankful for you and thankful for him for coming, the first actual guest. Next week we will be right here, same bat time, same bat station, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And so we want to make sure that you tune in with us as well, and make sure you come in with, hopefully have our t-shirts ready next week for you, and some other memorabilia we'll have hopefully on next week. Do not forget this Saturday, make sure you bring your kid or a kid, or tell a kid 10 and under to come get a coat, 11 to 1 p.m. free brand new coats. Not just jackets. We don't have jackets. We have coats for the winter. So make sure you come Saturday, August 21st, there, 305 East 3rd Street, Lancaster, Texas. And then meet us online or at the Faith Sanctuary at 11 a.m. on Sunday, this Sunday. Don't forget to give as well. And then I want to make sure you, what time is y'all service on Sundays? And then the address to the Potter's House North.
The services are at 9 a.m. In our Frisco location, 9 a.m., and then we do a rebroadcast at 11:30 a.m. So the live service is at 9 a.m. at 10501 Main Street in Frisco, Texas. You do have to register, but if you don't get a chance to register, you can show up and we'll register you at the door.
Amen. Thank you for coming. Any other shout-outs you want to give? Any other thing you want to say before we get up out of here? Or any other information you want to get?
No, just thank you for inviting me out. And then I just want to say to people that are concerned about firearms that I may not want to, you just really need to think about it. And you can give me a call. If you're not ready to do a class, you can give me a call, kind of talk through the process. What are some of your fears? Ask me those questions, because I know a lot of people are afraid of police encounters and things like that. You can get with me on Instagram, The Real Daniel Moody, or Diplomatic Training, Diplomatic TRNG, and follow me there for some of the advice that I put out about protecting your home, because even I can also come to your home and just do a safe home with you. If you're afraid of a firearm being in your home, there are other things you can do, other weapons you can use in your home that are non-lethal, that I can talk you through that process and set up a plan to protect your home if you don't want to use a firearm.
Amen. So it's not just it's churches, it's even for your home. I'm telling you, you need to contact him for all of your security, carrying, anything when it comes to that. He is the man for that. Thank you so much for coming. Don't forget Hearing Eyes DFW. If you want a podcast, many of you out there want to say, hey, Pastor D, how do I get a podcast? Hearing Eyes DFW is the studio for you. We have everything here for you. Calvin Hill and a couple other people have started this studio. It's wonderful in here. I'm telling you, you won't need anything. And so you need to contact for all your podcasts, interviews, radio shows, sermons, anything you got going on. Definitely Hearing Eyes DFW. Make sure you watch out for that. Well, clock on the wall says that's all. We are thankful that you have tuned in tonight. Make sure that even after this, you share this and tag this. You can go on YouTube as well, on our Faith Church YouTube channel, and watch it as well. Hot Podcast. Hot stands for the House of Transformation. And so we are here every Wednesday, making sure that we're getting the word out and information out to everyone that needs it. I love you so much. Listen, if nobody told you this week that they love you, I'm Pastor D, and I love you. Be blessed.